One Israel Fund, beating to the rhythm of the heartland, enhancing and securing daily life in the Jewish communities of Judea and Samaria for over 25 years. Join us and make a difference. Harow, Director of Tourism and Education for One Israel Fund, recording from the hills of Judea in Israel. It is March 27th, 2025, the 27th day of Adar, 5785, and I am very honored to have with us tonight a very special man. Dr. Yechiel Leiter served as advisor to the late Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, was Chief of Staff to then Finance Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Education, and Acting Chairman of the Israel Ports Company. He holds undergraduate degrees in law and political science, a master's degree in international relations, and a PhD in political philosophy. He also, and that is why he agreed despite an incredibly busy schedule, is the founder of One Israel Fund. So it is my honor to introduce to everyone Ambassador Yechiel Leiter, Israel's ambassador to the United States. Okay, they need one more minute. So I will just fill in on a few things that are happening here in Israel. It's been an exciting day. We had a red alert a couple of hours ago in Jerusalem, and in a very typical Israeli fashion, people went inside, they covered up, and then we just kind of understand that there's miracles surrounding us all the time. And when the siren finished and 10 minutes was over, we all went out our daily business, preparing for Passover, whatever it is, going back to work, going back to taking care of children, whatever it is that we do. Surrounded by miracles here all the time, not taking them for granted, just understanding that the picture here that we are living in is so much bigger than any of us can realize. I also am delighted to announce to all of you, for those of you who are not familiar, that One Israel Fund has a new women's division. We had a mission a few weeks ago, and it was incredibly successful. And you will be hearing more from us on that in the near future. And here we are. I told you he was busy. Here we go. Hi, Dr. Leiter, and I'm already going to apologize that I'm going to slip and call you Yechiel. We've been friends for a very, very, very long time, and I'm truly delighted that you carved out a few minutes for us. So let's jump right into it. I've already introduced you. What does the job of ambassador from Israel to the United States entail?
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Okay, maybe we can help you. We have half an hour.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a roller coaster. The only difference between being Israel's ambassador to Washington and a roller coaster is that the roller coaster has fixed turns. Here the twists and turns are different every day. The first order of business is to maintain an ongoing relationship with the White House, particularly with the national security team. Israel has a 7-front war going on, and there are a lot of moving pieces on a daily basis, really on an hourly basis sometimes. People see the news, and you know that we're moving troops in Gaza. We know that the Americans are bombing in Yemen. We know about ceasefire violations in Lebanon. We know about the activities of the jihadis in Syria, new government. We know about Druze, the Kurds, but there's an awful lot that goes on behind the scenes. Actually, most of what's going on is behind the scenes and not in the news. And that has to be managed, finessed. There's a lot of sharing of information and keeping each other abreast of what's going on, and just making sure, particularly with this administration, that we are on the same page as much as we can be on most issues. So that's the first thing, managing an ongoing daily hour relationship with the White House. The second order of priorities is maintaining good relations with the Congress. So that's the Senate and the Congress, and the objective is to try to keep Israel as bipartisan as possible. That's not only for practical political reasons. I mean, after all, the Congress can go back to the Democrats in 2 years, and we'll absolutely need the Democrats for funding of munitions transference and so on. But it's also for moral reasons. There's no reason why Israel should not be a bipartisan issue. Israel belongs, is an issue that is relevant for everyone. I'm not saying it's always easy to converse with those who have been very, very critical of Israel, but I have to listen and maintain an ongoing relationship. I'm meeting with a senator later on today who voted in favor of an arms embargo just last year. And I plan to listen, but I also plan to encourage him to listen to what I have to say. And I'm not sure it's going to be very pleasant, but I'm going to be frank and strong and make the arguments that need to be made. So beyond the White House and Congress, there's also the outreach in public diplomacy to all major Jewish organizations, to all major Christian organizations. I have a gathering in the embassy this evening of evangelical leaders. They have an attempt to create a kind of president's conference of major evangelical organizations, as we have president's conference. That's also divided, as many of the Jewish organizations are divided. They too have their divisions, but they're all very, very good people, and we encourage them to have the meeting here in the embassy, and I'll be addressing them and giving the keynote this evening. A big part of our public diplomacy is students. I've made a very concerted effort, make sure that I meet with groups of students almost, I'd say, 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, just yesterday I had Georgetown law here at the embassy. I want them to come to the Israel embassy. Most of them were Jewish, but not all, with their professors. Georgetown law has seen an onslaught of Jewish SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine, a very hostile, very anti-Semitic, anti-Israel organization. They sponsor speakers on campuses. We were very involved in getting the terrorist Ribchi Karaja, who was involved in the murder of Rina Shnerb, Zechronah Livracha, near Dolev. He was scheduled to speak, hosted by Students for Justice in Palestine. We were involved in getting his appearance canceled. I personally appealed to the president dean of Georgetown Law, and it was canceled. Unfortunately, it was canceled because of inclement weather. So I got back to them and said that the reason why you cancel the appearance of a terrorist is not inclement weather, but inclement morality. So we're making steps. Just this morning, I'll give you another example of our responsibilities. I was told by the chairman and the CEO and president of Israel Bonds, which does very, very important work in terms of supporting Israel's rehabilitation efforts after October 7th. Israel Bonds has raised over $5 billion in support of Israel in the past year and a half. But what we're seeing now is an effort by BDS to flag institutional investment in bonds. So, for example, if you have a state legislature that's investing in Israel bonds, and there are many, and there are those on a municipal level as well, BDS is now hounding the state treasurers or the city treasurers to divest. And there have been a couple examples. So when the CEO, Dani Naveh, asked me to look into the situation, see what the embassy can do, I approached Leo Terrell, who's now the senior counselor in the Justice Department dealing with anti-Semitism. He's doing an incredible job. People know him from his appearances on, he's a prosecutor. He was a prosecutor for 30 years. He's involved in the civil rights movement. He appears very often on Fox News. And he's very, very dedicated to this fight against anti-Semitism. He's beginning his work in the fight on campuses. But I wanted to have him understand that this is also an issue beyond the campuses, and particularly this issue of Israel bonds in the state and municipal level. So we had a meeting this morning. It began at 8:30 in the morning. Mr. Terrell came in with his team. Dani Naveh came in with his team from New York, and we began a meeting at 8:30 in the morning. And by 9:30, we had exchanged information. We gave them a lot of documentation on these anti-Israel activists, and he's on it. So, that's just a quick rundown of what we do here on a daily basis. I'd just like to add one more point, perhaps, and this is really a very central point to the effort on every level regarding what we tangentially refer to as hasbara, or public diplomacy. And the point that I've been making here since I landed at the end of January is that the battle against anti-Semitism, which is soaring in this country, cannot be separated from the delegitimization and demonization of Israel around the world. And I encourage Mr. Terrell very much to coordinate his efforts together with the State Department, because if we have an ICC issuing arrest warrants against the Prime Minister of Israel, now you can't possibly fight anti-Semitism if the number one Jew in the world is branded as a war criminal. So as I told the joint session of Senate leadership, if you are all fighting and united in fighting anti-Semitism, the first thing you have to do is remove the stain of Cain from the forehead of the Prime Minister. That's the first step, because if he's a child killer, we're all child killers, and we deserve to be hated. But he's not a child killer. It's a lie. It's no different than the wherever it were before Pesach. Well, let me say this. It's the same thing as the blood libels of the Middle Ages claiming that we use Christian blood in our matzahs. Then it was a community, then it was an individual, now it's the entire Jewish people and the Jewish state. We bake matzahs with Palestinian blood. No, we don't. And that blood libel has to be challenged. It has to be denied, decried. That has to be demonized, not Israel or the leadership of the Jewish people. So I think that message is getting across. I don't tire in making it before every audience. The first step in the battle against anti-Semitism is reversing the ICC and the ICJ attempts to discredit, demonize, delegitimize the Jewish state.
So you make a very strong point about anti-Semitism, and that's kind of really the oldest hatred, perhaps. But what we're up against also, and that's the wars that we're fighting, is jihadist Islam. Are Americans understanding that Israel is kind of a preview of what's coming at them? That this is not just our fight alone, but if the United States would have to invent Israel if we weren't here. As an open society, as a democratic society, as the truest friend the United States has, whatever administration is running Washington, and that the value for Israel, being supportive of Israel, is not just doing us a favor, or perhaps Judeo-Christian values, but doing America a great service in terms of the role that we play as kind of the landlocked aircraft carrier, if you will, for the people of the United States.
Yeah, well, thank God we're not a landlocked aircraft carrier. We've got a nice long beach in the Mediterranean.
Beautiful beach, yeah.
But I think there's tremendous appreciation for that, particularly in this administration at the present time. Just an interesting statistic. In 2023, it's a statistic I just saw yesterday. We voted with the United States, the United Nations, 92% of the time. Okay. Ukraine, which received 23 in direct aid, over $17.5 billion, voted with the United States 18% of the time.
Wow.
That's quite a difference. Okay. Nobody comes close to it. We are the best ally, because in terms of interests and values, we haven't asked for American boots on the ground, and we do our own fighting, and we are an outpost. We're that shining city on the hill that the founding fathers of the United States wanted to create and did create in many respects. But we're there in the Middle East. We're that outpost of sanity, democracy, and morality in a world that's been deprived of it But I think it's important to understand that it's not just jihadi Islam. It's radical political Islam, whether it's of the Shia brand like Iran, like Iran's mullahs, or the jihadi brand, led by ISIS and Al Qaeda and the like. Um, it's interesting how these two groups can be diametrically opposed to each other on theological grounds and yet unite in the battle against Israel and really against Christendom as well. This is also a battle against Christendom. It's a battle also against Judeo-Christian values and Western leadership, Western civilization. So, there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. You've got, of course, within this entire assessment, you've got, China to deal with, who's supporting, for example, Iranian attempts to avoid sanctions, to get around sanctions. And of course, you've got the Russian-Iran connection when it comes to munitions. So there's an awful lot that has to be dealt with on different levels, and international relations here is key to knowing how the pieces are moving, where interests lie. Take, for example, President Trump's plan regarding the allowing freedom to the people of Gaza. Is basically, people say, well, you're going to force the people out of Gaza. Well, it's quite the opposite. What's going on until now is forcing them to stay. They're not allowed free passage. The gates of Rafah are closed. What the president suggested is that they be allowed the freedom of choosing where they want to live for the foreseeable future. So there are countries that could be or are interested in hosting them for any period of time. So that, of course, involves negotiation, involves interests, finding common interests and common goals. So there's an awful lot in terms of diplomacy and understanding how things are moving forward on a global scale.
Is that part of your job? Let's say meeting with an ambassador of one of those possible countries and seeing what you can do to move that.
Meeting with ambassadors is full time. Yesterday morning, I sat with not in regard to Gaza. Okay, that's a different issue. I'll put that on the side for a moment. But just meeting with ambassadors with common interests. For example, last night, I began the day with a meeting with the Moroccan ambassador to Washington, who's been here many years, and we had issues to discuss regarding, sustaining and filling up the Abraham Accords that we have with Morocco. It's been sustained over the past year and a half. It's a very strong relationship, actually. We discussed ways of actually deepening that relationship. But in the evening, I had a reception that I attended with the Greek ambassador, Greek and Cypriot ambassadors. It's the Greek New Year, and the Greeks are very, very concerned about Turkey. We have many common interests regarding developments in Syria. They certainly don't want to see a Syria dominated by the Turkish army. They have a lot of issues between Greece and Turkey. So I was received at the Hellenic Society. There were thousands of people. The Greek ambassador, came to greet me with such warmth, as if we had been, in the Palmach together, like we say, as we were in kindergarten or something. And we don't know each other very long, but it was a really warm embrace and welcome. And she immediately said that in the back room of the center, there's a woman who survived Dachau. So I made my way through the crowd and found this little old lady who's in her late 80s, who had actually, her family were all killed in Dachau. She was from northern Greece, but she survived together with her brother in the forests of northern Greece for over a year. She told me her story, and many people gathered around who were not Jewish, just came to celebrate the Greek New Year. And they got a picture with the Israeli ambassador. It was it was an amazing experience because here, where were we 80 years ago? Here, this woman is telling me about her experience as a Jew who nobody cared about, who had to escape Nazis in the forests of Greece and survive, on potatoes and bark. And here we are 80 years later. She's telling me the story, and everybody's crowding around to get a picture with the Israeli ambassador because Israel can help Greece with, survivor enemies. So it's quite an amazing reversal of history when people are looking for concepts of what redemption is all about. This isn't something that's highfalutin or up there in the sky. It's right here on Earth. This is what we're experiencing now, and we should be very appreciative of who we are and where we are.
Mm-hmm. So aside from your diplomatic skills, you bring with you a life of walking the walk and talking the talk. When you live in Israel, and I assume you're not back as often as you would like to be, it sounds like your schedule, you have 26-hour days. Made your home in Judea and Samaria for many years, started One Israel Fund, had the foresight 30 years ago to understand that the communities here were going to be shunted aside even before BDS became the fashion, and really, put everything that you have behind that. As our viewers all know, of course, also, you've paid a very high price for your life in Israel, as your oldest son was killed over a year ago, Major Moshe Leiter, in the battle in Gaza, and the deep effect that it's had on you personally. So if anybody thinks that you're just sitting there for the glory of being called the ambassador, then they don't even know where to begin with you. When you meet with people, though, and I assume that people know your background, do you feel that it's something to overcome, or it actually earns you some respect because you're someone who's very clear on who you are? You're a traditional Jew, you're a very proud Jew and Israeli. Just on a more personal level, because it's not just a position, the ambassador, you also are Yechiel Leiter with everything that you bring to the table. Have you had a particular incident or something that you can share with us, or just a general perspective of what this means to be in this role at a very, very difficult, well, it's always difficult times here in Israel, but almost a fork in the road, change of administration in the United States, a lot of stuff going on here with this war that's now our longest war, and no real end in sight.
Well, yeah, there's an awful lot to unpack there. I get called His Excellency about 20 times a day. And it means as much as to me personally, as the last year's snowfall. It's really for the state of Israel that I allow people to address me that way. And I usually correct and say it's Yechiel, and to those who can't say Yechiel, it's Michael. But it's an honor to the state of Israel to have an ambassador that people are seeking out, and the state whose interests are at the forefront of United States foreign policy. I must tell you, in terms of the change of the administration, everybody knows about an embargo which held up the 2,000-pound bombs because they were that was publicized. But the fact of the matter is that there was a slow walking of billions of dollars of munitions that we had already purchased. A very, very serious situation up until 2 months ago. And the president immediately gave an executive order to free these munitions. It took some time to finesse it back into the system because there is a bureaucratic system nonetheless. And that was one of the primary goals from the moment I got here, to put all that back on track. We are fighting a 7-front war, and we can't develop all of our munitions by ourselves. We're a small country, so there's economic scale. People who understand economics understand that you need a particular scale to reach the quantities that are necessary, the requisite quantities. But on a personal level, I had no intentions whatsoever of going back into public life. But when the prime minister called, I consulted my my son, my oldest son, Moshe, who was killed leading our troops into Gaza. And he was telling me in his own way from somewhere in the Garden of Eden, Abba, you have to continue living, and this is what you should do now. You got to live for me too. So I carry him with me, and I feel that I'm living for him as well. This is what he would have wanted me to do, and I try not to tire because he never tired. He was doing so much in his short life. Everybody said at his funeral that he was 39 when he was killed, but he lived the life of someone double his age. So he didn't tire. I don't have the luxury, so I try not to tire either. It's a very, very, very involved, complicated situation here. People don't understand why I can't answer their WhatsApps and their messages and their emails, and it's just simply impossible. It's just simply impossible. I have a wonderful staff, but the amount of work that we have to get done here, both quantitatively and qualitatively, is mind-boggling. And sometimes I look back at the day when I collapse, at 12 midnight, and say, goodness, the day feels like a week worth of work. So that's why I could only spend a half hour with you on the webinar. I would like to spend more time, but it's just impossible. I've got to run back to all sorts of important things. We've got a military briefing and a meeting with we've got 150 people working in the embassy. It's a huge staff and doing all sorts of very important things, commerce and treasury and on the Hill, and of course on the military and strategic issues. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for spending a half hour allowing me to share some ideas and some of my life with you. And I want to wish One Israel, as always, the best of success. You're doing important work, very important work, and I'm being flagged. I'm being pulled out. You're doing. Don't underestimate the importance of the work that you're all doing, and you brought support, in many cases comfort, to people who need it the most. We're at a time where I explain to people we're not PTSD yet. We're still in trauma. We're not post, because the war goes on. We have over 2,000 people who have been killed. If we take the October 7th plus the soldiers who have been killed, that's about 65,000 people in the United States. Imagine 65,000 people percentage-wise being killed in a year and a half in the United States in war. And then you have over 5,000 soldiers seriously wounded. You have that orbit of families that are suffering with severe injuries. And then you have all the people that have been removed from their homes. And then you have the entire population that's dealt with missiles. Just this morning, there was missiles from Yemen and Gaza. This is an ongoing war, and what you do to bring people a sense of security and comfort where necessary and support is really very, very crucial. So I encourage you to continue your important work, let it grow and increase, and God bless. Have a wonderful day, anybody.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yechiel Leiter, for carving out a few precious minutes of your time. And to everyone who's with us on this webinar, short but to the point, and I think that we all realize more than ever how busy this man is. And what that means is that we all have to get busy as well. He only has a certain number of hours in his day, and he has tremendous issues that he has to deal with vis-a-vis the government of the United States, the White House, the Congress, as he explained. And so all of us who care in particular ways and perhaps have the time, for example, to work on sovereignty in Judea and Samaria and things that we can do from our little places in order to move things that others do not have time to do because there are other priorities. I think it behooves us to do that to the best of our abilities. The only thing that is bad about the times that we're in right now are people who are not doing what they can for the good. And because as we know, the enemy is on all sides, be it the anti-Semites, be it the jihadis, whomever it is who are trying to stop the growth of Israel and of the United States, they don't rest for a minute. So neither can we. And I think we just heard from a prime example of somebody who has got all his skin in this game, who's completely devoted to his family, meaning his greater family, and all of Israel. And I, for one, am really delighted that he is in the position that he is in. Eve Harow, Director of Tourism and Education for One Israel Fund. Thank you all so much for joining me. We will be hopefully having more webinars in the future and all kinds of activities. Look on your website. We have day trips. We have all kinds of projects that we're doing all the time. Happy to take suggestions and advice from people. And of course, if you want to come and have a personal tour, I'm happy to do that as well and take you wherever you want. There is so much going on here. Don't let the news frighten you away. The people here are awesome, especially the people in Yehuda v'Shomron, Israelis in general, and the people in our heartland in particular. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much to Shana for being in the background. Eve Harow, goodbye for now.